Yo, welcome back to the show. You're locked in into the latest episode of The Bubble Chat. And honestly, it feels good to be checking behind the mic. Whether you're listening during your commute, you're at the gym, or just hanging out, I'm truly glad that you are here. There's been so much happening lately that I've been vibrating with excitement to finally get this episode started. How about y'all?
We have a massive lineup for you today. If you know how we do things here, you know we're not just skimming through the surface. We're diving straight into the deep and the culture, the industry drama, and those did it really just happen moments, and that have been blowing up for our feeds for some time. This season is all about leveling up the conversation, and I'm so ready to get into the nitty gritty of why these stories actually matter.
To the day ones who have been rocking with us, thank you for keeping the energy alive. And if this is your first time stumbling into the bubble, welcome to the family. This isn't a monologue, it is a community. The way you all engage with these topics is what makes this show what it is. And I am consistently hyped by the perspective that you all bring to the table. Now, all right, enough is enough of that sentimental shit. We got work to do. Fix your value, get comfortable, and let's get to the thick of it. You are listening to The Bubble Chat, and you are officially live. As quoted, Queen Wendy Williams always said, it's not for hot topics. How you doing?
How you doing? First of all, if you're watching this from a YouTube video, you may have noticed that things are looking a little bit different today. I'm at my grandma's house. I'm caretaking her for the night, and Adonis is also currently in Hawaii, and it's still pretty bright from where he is, and it's about to become pretty dark from where I'm at. So we're recording from different locations today.
Yeah, live from Hawaii, Kiki. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can still hear you.
Okay, perfect. All right, because I put my headphones on to cancel out the noise.
Okay, and I think we're up to me. All right, we have to get into this headline from Common Cause because it's a massive upheaval in U.S. civil rights law right now. The Supreme Court made decisions that can make it difficult to challenge voting maps, especially in case of redistricting, where different lines were drawn to affect and weaken Black voting power. In a six in a 63 ruling, the court all but ended that landmark laws guaranteed that communities of color have the right to fair congressional districts, places where they can actually elect a candidate of their choice. In lay terms, the court is essentially allowing politicians to gerrymander people of color into silence. This decision gives lawmakers permission to draw districting plans that weaken the influence of Black and other minority voters. It might even see some states rush ahead to redraw their districts before this year's midterm elections. Justice Elena Kagan didn't hold back in her dissecting opinion, writing that the court has now accomplished a demolition of the Voting Rights Act. She noted that this is just the latest in a series of decisions dismantling the law, including the 2013 Shelby County versus Holder case. As career public defender Eliza Orland pointed out, the Roberts Court has been picking the Voting Rights Act apart for over a decade. They started by nullifying the pre-clearance provision that parts that require the worst offending states to clear voting changes with the federal government before imposing them on Black voters. At this time, Chief Justice Roberts claimed that pre-clearance wasn't needed anymore because the South has changed. But clearly, we're seeing the fallout of the logic today, with the court essentially giving the green light to prioritize partisan goals, even when they dilute minority voting power. How do we protect the idea of one person, one vote, where the legal tools to enforce it are being stripped away? How do you feel about it, Adonis?
I know that it has been working in their favor. It didn't work in California because that's where we got Project 50, right?
Hmm.
From Kevin Newton. So it's really not working in their favor what they're trying to do. My thing is um, vote, vote, vote. Every vote matters. So gotta do your due diligence because They nervous. They shaking and afraid.
And look, if I'm being really honest, it's upsetting, but it's definitely not surprising. I mean, this polling just goes to show that we have an ugly fight ahead of us, and we better start preparing now. The call to action isn't just a suggestion, it's a necessity. Because we have to remember when Project 2025 was first announced ahead of a potential second Trump term, we looked through that agenda. And it was clear that it was designed to alter voting rights and democracy in America because it threatens our very foundation because it would allow an administration to systematically disenfranchise voters. Because it's becoming pretty obvious that the government only cares about nothing but their own money because it's been like that for God knows how long. Just look around you. Think about college tuition hikes, the impossible rise in housing costs, and healthcare premiums going through the roof. Gas, food, everything is up. And when you look at where our federal tax dollars actually go, the numbers are wild. According to the CBPP, the federal government spends $6.9 trillion, which is about 24% of the nation's gross domestic product. The money is there. It's just clearly not being used to make our lives more easier. And we have to put this into perspective with how much blood was shed for us to even have a say. Because on August 6, 1965, from what I've researched, Lyndon B. Johnson signed the Voting Rights Act into law. He claimed that a triumph for freedom as huge as any victory that has ever been won on any battlefield. But let's not forget that law didn't just appear. It came like 7 months after Martin Luther King launched the SCLC campaign in Selma, Alabama, specifically to pressure Congress to act. Because those civil rights activists met with this kind of fierce resistance most of us can't even imagine. It hit a breaking point on March 7th, 1965,
Mhm.
when workers were brutally attacked by white law enforcement during the during that march from Selma to Montgomery. So when we see the court picking this law apart piece by piece today, they aren't just changing policy; they are dismantling a victory that people literally died for on those streets. We cannot afford to be quiet about this one.
Very much well said, nephew. I agree with you. But switching gears to something a little bit lighter, we got to talk about this moment between Tom Holland and Zendaya that's been making rounds on people. On Wednesday, April 29th, the couple stepped out in Los Angeles for a Adele tournament. The event was actually hosted by Vero, which is Holland's own non-alcoholic beverage brand. In that video caught by people, you can see Tom lending a helping hand by adjusting the back of Zendaya's blue and white patterned dress after it had simply become undone. It was quick, supportive, but a great movement in the middle of all the action. While there, Holland spoke with USA Today about Adele, which is a racket sport that mixes elements of tennis and squash. Really aligns with the whole ethos behind his brand. We're seeing more and more of these low stakes supportive partners moments caught on camera lately. Do you think these small candid interactions help humanize a A-list couple more than a big red pose ever could?
I have to give a shout out to those couples out there who are always on lookout duty. The ones that partners who keep each other from experiencing those absolute nightmares in public, whether it's a wardrobe malfunction, something stuck in your teeth, or realizing your fly is down before you walk into a room. Because having someone who has your back like that is a top tier love language. It's one of those things to look good together on the gram, but it's another thing to be the person who quietly fixes a strap or whispers a heads up before things start to get embarrassing. Because that kind of awareness shows you're actually paying attention. It's it's this unspoken pact where you both agree and eat that I'm not gonna let you go out there looking crazy. It's honestly those real public like relationship goals because it's not always about the big romantic
I mean,
gestures.
left to me.
Sometimes it's just about being a solid teammate in the small little moments. Because when you have a partner who is basically your second set of eyes, It just make it just makes navigating the world a little less stressful. So if you're the person who is always checking in the back of your partner's outfit or making sure they're good before they step into the spotlight, we see you. You're you're the unsung heroes of the social scene, keeping the dignity intact one minor at a time. Shout out to the real ones keeping it all together.
What is?
So we were talking about
Yeah, yeah. Reality is real, you know, and being quick-handed, being quick-witted, being quick-spoken. Uh, it counts and it matters, especially when it comes to supporting, especially someone that you are engaging with. You know, on that level. You know, that shows genuine interest, interest and care for the most part. You know, like I
yeah,
got your back. You know, it's a foundation and like solidifying actions,
yeah.
things of endearment, I should say.
Hmm.
I'm with it.
Me too. Well, moving on to some legal drama, Howard Stern is officially firing back at the ex-employee who claimed the shock just created a hostile work environment. On Wednesday, Stern filed a motion to dismiss former assistant Leslie Kuhn's lawsuit, calling the whole thing a takedown and a transparent sham. According to court documents obtained by multiple outlets, in his motion, Stern claims she is really just a hush after a hush money payment. The filing states that the only reason Khan State filed this lawsuit was to pressure their earned parties into making an outlandish payment to make her go away. This all follows the lawsuit Leslie filed earlier this month against both Howard and his wife, both Stern, where she alleged that it treated her like crap and while she worked as an executive assistant in their Southampton mansion. Howard, however, is standing his ground, claiming in the motion that her reputation wouldn't even need protection if she hadn't gone public with the lawsuit in the first place. As of right now, reports indicate that Leslie is seeking $2.5 million dollars in damages. So when a high profile figure labels a lawsuit a shakedown or hush money attempt right out of the gate, how much does that move the needle for you in terms of who you believe? Or do you think it's just a standard legal defense tactic? How you feel about it, Donis?
Well, it's not just Howard Stern; it's him and his wife. So that kind of changes the ball game. You know, the spectrum or the perspective of which things have happened or what is going on. Like, yeah, you and your wife. Like, this isn't just directed towards the celebrity or the greater half or the notable person in the relationship. So I give her credit. I give her credit. I give her credit. You know,
You
let
know,
let her let us see her day in court. Let everyone see their day in court.
Like, 'cause, I think when it comes to these hostile work environment cases, especially in entertainment, I feel like there's a pattern I've been seeing over and over. Because it usually starts with someone in charge of becoming a mentor. They bring you into their inner circle. They take you under their wing. You build this deep trust, and then things just get intense. It's that moment where the lines get blurred and suddenly that trust is being taken advantage of. But what's
True.
wild is the aftermath. After someone finally gets the courage to sever ties with a powerful boss, it can take years, if not longer, for that person in charge to come back crawling. And usually they aren't coming back to apologize. They're coming back because they need something, whether it's in a new favor of offering hush money to keep the past buried. And I can't really help but think about Jeanette McCurdy when she was finally ready to move on from her time at Nickelodeon. The staff allegedly offered her from what looks like $300,000. I don't know the amount for sure. It was just to stay quiet
Mhm.
about her experience. When we all read the book, I'm glad my mom died. We know her time there was anything but positive, but she had the backbone to refuse that money because her truth wasn't for sale. Because it makes you wonder how many people do take the check because they're just exhausted from the fight. because seeing these headlines with discerns, it feels like we're watching that same old script play out again. It's a
Mhm.
it's that classic power dynamic where the person at the top tries to frame the victim as the aggressors the second they stop playing by any roles. We've seen this movie
Mhm.
before, and honestly, we're getting tired of the sequels and the next installments.
Ooh, we're getting tired of the drama. Well, we have some heavy news regarding the Fuji Rappers Prize Michael. On Thursday, April 30th, Michael Prize turned himself in to begin a 14-year prison sentence at the Federal Correction Institution in Stafford, Arizona. While he has been reported to prison, he is bound to appeal his conviction and intends to fight it on the inside. This stems from back in 2023 when he was convicted of several charges, including conspiracy, concealment of material facts, and witness tampering. A judge originally ordered him to start his sentence in January, but it was delayed until March, and then he was given another 30 days, which landed us all the way up until April 30th, surrender date. The root of this legal battle goes back to 2019 when the federal prosecutors indicted him, accusing him of illegally transferring funds into former President Barack Obama's 2012 re-election campaign. Seeing a legendary artist transition from the highest of the music industry to a 14-year federal sentence is a massive shock. How do you think a situation like this affects the legacy of a group like the Fugees moving forward? There ain't gonna be no Fuji tour. Ain't gonna be no score of the tour, no tour to score. What you think?
No comment.
Why, nephew? Is this out of are you out of date? This out of your era?
I only know Ready or Not by the Fugees, so
Oh my God.
I don't really have much of a comment to be quite honest.
You need to, Killing Me Softly by Lauren Hill, right?
Heard of it, never listened to it.
You should. You should listen to Fuji Live. Fuji Live.
Okay.
That's
Yeah,
okay.
I'm gonna start. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna start listening or learning about the Fugees a little more because I really don't know much about them. I just know that Lauren Hill was in that band, and I just know Ready or Not.
I'm gonna be too up. So look,
Boy,
the next story is a heavy one for all the parents and older siblings listening. Cook Children's Medical Center is sounding the alarm on social media fad that's sending dozens of kids to the hospital. It's called the Benadryl Challenge. And while at first surfaced back in 2020, it's unfortunately making its rounds again. The challenge encourages kids to intentionally overdose on the over-the-counter allergy drug and then try to fight off the drowsiness to experience a high or induce hallucinations. According to the health systems, more than 100 patients have ended up in Cook's Children's Emergency Room for Benadryl overdoses in just the last 6 months. While Dr. Stephanie Felton, the Associate Medical Director, mentioned they aren't seeing quite as many cases as the initial 2020 spike, the volume is still incredibly concerning considering since one child tragically did not survive the overdose. This trend is primarily affecting teens and preteens. With these challenges resurfacing years after they first went viral, do you think social media platforms are doing enough to permanently scrub this kind of dangerous content, or has the viral loop become something that's impossible to fully control? Well,
been sick. Go ahead.
go ahead. Go ahead. No, no, no.
All right. Okay. I've been sitting with this story, and honestly, I keep asking myself, how do these dangerous trends even get this much momentum in the first place? Because it should go without saying, but let's be crystal clear. Absolutely, under no circumstances should over-the-counter medicine be consumed by children or teenagers without an adult there, and definitely not unless it's specifically prescribed by a doctor. I was doing some research from Florida International University News, and it really puts the why into perspective. Our teenage years are hardwired for risk taking because the human brain actually isn't fully developed until you're in your mid 20s. Think about that at the parts of the brain that crashes reward and whatever feels good in the moment develop way faster than the areas responsible for actual decision making. So for a teen, the impulse to gain popularity or a few likes can easily override the physical risk of injury. Because it's a perfect storm because teens are also incredibly vulnerable to social pressure. Because when you have unlimited access to peers and influencers through these massive online networks, resisting that pressure is 10 times harder. Because you're not just trying to impress the kids at your school, you're looking at a stage with thousands of people in it. But here's the reality when someone messes with something as dangerous as Benadryl, the side effects aren't just a bad trip, they can be fatal. We're talking about seizures, heart rhythm issues, and even a coma. And I truly believe that schools and parents have to step up to the plate and have these uncomfortable, blunt conversations. We have to educate kids on why these trends are happening and the science of why they feel the need to join in. Because understanding the impulse is the first step towards stopping the action.
Very much so true. Um, Speaking as an adult, a mid 40-year-old man, I'm currently taking Benadryl to help out a little skin reaction that I have. And that shit is strong. I dare I do a challenge to try and fight the side effects of this drug. And then for it to be children. If you looked at Cycle 3, America's Next Top Model almost to the end, young lady wasn't feeling good, and that girl gave that girl some Benadryl, about took her out. She took very good pictures because she had to perform in, like 30 seconds, right? But she
Hmm.
was totally, I mean, thrown down to the side. She was cried, died, and laid to the side thanks to Benadryl. So
Yeah.
please be careful. You are so much more important. Your little body, want to be so much more healthier than to pollute it with the over-counter drug Benadryl. And to the social media platforms. We had did a story not too long ago about uh, I think was it YouTube that had got sued about a lawsuit or something that dealt about how it abuses and it goes against regulations and codes to influence children, children. Like you said, the brain does not finish developing until we're in our mid 20s. They're going after our kids, destroying, wrecking, influencing their mind. That's not right. That's not nice. We're praying for the babies, but the babies, you got to be careful now. Don't fuck with the Benadryl. They're going and they're no good. They're going to do you no good.
Not good at
But
all.
not good at all. You're better than that. We love you. But as we continue to celebrate our AAP Heritage Month, we have to shine a massive spotlight on a trailblazer who has completely redefined what it means to be a multi hyphenate in Hollywood, from her viral rap roots to Queens to becoming the history making leading lady. She has spent her career breaking down doors that were previously bolted shut for Asian American performers. I'm talking about the beautifully talented, hilariously Aquafina.
Awkwafina etched her name into the history books in 2020 when she became the first woman of Asian descent to win a Golden Globe for Best Actress in a Musical or Comedy for her incredible performance in The Farewell. That role was a turning point. It showed that the world she wasn't just a comedic powerhouse, but a deeply nuanced, dramatic actress who could carry a story about family, grief, and a complex immigrant experience. What makes Aquafina so vital to the culture is her commitment to authenticity. She's spoken openly about the imposter syndrome she felt early on and the importance of seeing Asian American characters who aren't one-dimensional tropes.
Welcome back. If you are just joining us, you are listening to The Bubble Chat, and we are jumping straight from the headlines into our next segment. Now, we all know the binge watch culture is real, and the theater seats have been staying warm lately with some massive releases. Whether it is a big budget blockbuster everyone's texting about, or it's an indie short film that's quietly sweeping the festival circuit, we're here to break down if it's actually worth your time. We've officially moved into our review segment where we peel back layers on the latest film and television. There has been a lot of must watch chatter on the timeline this week, from a long way to sequels to some experimental projects that are literally pushing the envelope. I spend my weekend locked in, taking in notes and checking the vibes so I can give you the real breakdown of what's going on and what's the total skip. Now, what you got for us, Seth? You break it down, Juwan.
Alrighty, and I'm gonna break it down for you. So I wanted to pivot to a review that really hit me differently this week because there's a new short animation project on Disney Plus called Versa, and if you haven't seen it, prepare your heart. It's set in the stunning ethereal cosmic environment, following a man and a woman as they await the birth of their child. But as the story unfolds, it takes a devastating turn into pregnancy loss. Watching it, watching it made me realize just how much raw emotion a film like this can pull out of you. It actually kind of reminded me of a Lifetime movie I saw called Suburban Swingers Club, specifically the character Lori. She goes through a pregnancy loss, and you watch her marriage with Grant just start to fracture under the weight of that grief. It's heavy stuff, but it's a reality that so many people face. There's actually more along to the story, but but I don't want to focus on how that movie started to make Laurie and Grant work on their relationship. I really want to focus more specifically on pregnancy loss along with the alternatives of having a child and getting pregnant, whether it's through artificial insemination or IVF. I will, however, link Suburban Swingers Club in the show notes below so the listeners can check it out if they want to. But what's really moving about this short film is the story behind it. The director of that short film, Malcolm Pierce, and his wife actually lost their infant son Cooper. From what I know, during the production of Moana, and they dedicated this film to him, and you can feel that personal heartbeat in every frame because it's about the theme of every storm eventually becoming a rainbow. Like the journey to having a child can be so incredibly tough, from the physical toll of the intense trimesters and the cost of birth to emotional work of preparing a nursery, only to face the unthinkable like a miscarriage or a stillbirth. But the reason I wanted to bring this up is that first I also focuses on hope and that persistence of that dream. Because it opens the door for a conversation we don't have enough. The alternatives. When fertility issues or loss gets in the way, there are other parts of that rainbow, whether it's surrogacy, artificial insemination, adoption, or IVF, also known as in vitro fertilization. And let's be real, IVF is not like a magic wand. It's a grueling process that can take months or years, and there's no guarantee it'll work. But for so many parents, that chance at a family makes every needle and every appointment worth it. And in Versa, those parents keep their hope and faith alive. And it's a beautiful reminder that while the path to parenthood might not look the way you planned, the dream doesn't have to end. And I'm going to link the short film in the show notes so you can experience it for yourself if you like to. But honestly, I can't recommend watching it enough. It got me in awe.
Hey, that's what I'm talking about. Well, and just like that, we have reached the end of another motherfucking episode. I want to give a massive thank you to everyone who's tuned in and joined the conversation today. Your energy, your perspectives are exactly what we need. And I truly appreciate you letting us know and letting us into your space for a little while. If you have joined today's discussion, make sure you are following us on your favorite podcast platform so you never miss an installment. We just got so much more in works, and I'm looking forward to the next time to dive back into the mix when we're all together. Keep the conversation going in the comments and over our social media. I love seeing your takes and contributing to the dialogue after the mics are shut off. So until next time, this has been the Bubble Chat. We're signing off, and we'll talk to you very soon. Stay safe, stay blessed, and we out.
Peace out, y'all.
All right.